At 9:47 a.m. on March 10, 2025, third mate Jerry Griffin stood on a ship carrying 220,000 barrels of jet fuel and watched death coming at him through the fog. It was big, it was blue, and it was moving 16 knots fast enough to turn his tanker into the largest bomb in the North Sea. He had 13 seconds to live. What happened next would prove that the greatest generation didn't just exist in World War II. They're still out there, still American, still refusing to quit. Two ships, two captains, two completely different ideas about what it means to be a professional sailor. On Stena Immaculate, 23 American merchant mariners, trained by unions that trace their roots back to the World War II merchant marine. Men who learn that when things go wrong at sea, you don't abandon ship. You save it. On MV Solong, a 59-year-old Russian captain named Vladimir Motin, sailing alone on a bridge. His autopilot set to a course that would kill a man whose baby he'd never see. This is the story of 37 minutes that separated heroes from cowards, of one man's negligence that cost a life, and of 23 sailors who fought hell itself and won. If you or someone you know served in the merchant marine, leave a comment below. These stories deserve to be told. March 9, 2025. Stena Immaculate departed Greece carrying enough aviation fuel to power 10,000 fighter jet sorties. Destination RAF bases in England, used by the U.S. Air Force. Contract U.S. Navy Military Sealift Command. The ship wasn't just a tanker, she was a floating testament to American maritime tradition. Built in China, yes China, but operated by Crowley Maritime, a San Francisco company founded in 1892. Crewed entirely by American Union sailors. Her 16 cargo tanks were protected by an inert gas system. Nitrogen pumped in to reduce oxygen levels below combustion point, like filling your gas tank with an invisible fireproof shield. Military-grade safety, American-grade discipline. By March 9th evening, Immaculate anchored 5 miles off Humber, England, waiting for berth. Routine stop. Should have been simple. Jerry Griffin was 28 years old and terrified of making mistakes. This was his first voyage as third mate, the junior officer position he had fought 6 years to earn. From deckhand to able-bodied seaman to finally getting his officer's license. His father had been a merchant mariner too. Died in 2015. Engine room explosion. A moment of carelessness that cost everything. Griffin joined the merchant marine to honor his dad, but also to prove something: I won't screw up like you did. He carried that weight every single watch. That morning, March 10th, Griffin woke at 05:30, checked cargo tank readings, double-checked them, then triple-checked. His shipmates joked about his obsessiveness. Kid's gonna worry himself into an early grave. But Griffin couldn't help it. Every decision felt like life or death, because sometimes it was. At 09:47, he stood on deck doing tank inspections, routine work, checking oxygen levels in the inert gas system, making sure the invisible shield was holding. He glanced at his watch. 09:47. Coffee break started at 10:00, 13 minutes away. Should he finish this tank inspection or head inside early? He decided to keep working. That decision would save 23 lives. Thor Pearson had the best name in maritime history. Thor Pearson, don't give your kid that name unless you expect him to either save the world or star in Marvel movies. At 37, Chief Mate Pearson had done the first. Farm boy from Minnesota, joined Merchant Marine at 18, worked up from deckhand over 19 years. The old-fashioned way, no shortcuts, married, 2 kids back home. Wife Sarah worried every trip, tankers are so dangerous. Pearson would kiss her forehead. That's why they need guys like me. This England run was his audition for captain. Do this right, next command was his. That morning, Pearson checked inert gas pressures at 0700. Tank 7 port, all green. Perfect numbers. He logged it and moved on. He wouldn't check that tank again until it was ripped open and on fire. Vladimir Motin sat on Solong's bridge with an empty coffee thermos and mounting pressure. 59 years old. Russian. 35 years at sea. Captain for 12. Solong ran a fixed route Rotterdam to Grangemouth, Scotland, to Hull, England. Week after week. Same ports, same cargo, container ship work. Routine. That morning, Motin had received messages from his company. Shore manager demanding he make Rotterdam by 2300 that night. Bertha's waiting, don't be late, already complaints about slow turnaround. Cost-cutting pressure, tight schedules, lone watchkeeper policy to save money. At 1:30, Motin set his autopilot to heading 150 degrees. Standard course southbound after passing Longstone Lighthouse. Then he'd gone below for sleep. Returned to bridge at 0700 as lone watchkeeper. One man responsible for navigating a 5,000-ton ship through one of the world's busiest shipping lanes. Legal, but risky, especially in fog. Mark Perrier wasn't thinking about navigation or safety or captains. He was thinking about his son, able-bodied seaman, Filipino national, 32 years old. Wife Anna, 7 months pregnant back home. Due in May. Their second child, first boy. That morning, 0930, Mark was in Solong's forecastle preparing anchor gear. Routine work before arriving Hull. He'd video called Anna the night before. Watched her belly move as the baby kicked. Strong boy, Anna had said. Like his papa. I'll be home in 3 months, Mark promised. 2 months shore leave. I'll be there when he's born. At 0947, Mark Perrier had 17 minutes to live. His son would never know him. At 0917, Solong passed 15 nautical miles north of Stena Immaculate. Still heading 150 degrees. Speed 16 knots. On Immaculate's bridge, second mate Peter Skiers noticed the radar contact. Standard procedure monitor approaching vessels. Calculate CPA, closest point of approach. The radar computer did the math. CPA equals 0.0 nautical miles. Time to CPA 30 minutes. Collision course. Skiers watched for 3 minutes. Solong's course didn't change. At 0920, he called Captain Thomas Leaf to the bridge. Leaf studied the radar. 42 years at sea. He'd seen this before. Ships on autopilot. Captains assuming the other guy will move. He sees us, Leaf said. Give him time. On Solong's bridge, Vladimir Motin checked his phone. Messages from the company, from his wife, from his son, asking about money for university. The radar showed Stena Immaculate clearly. Stationary target. Anchored. Unmistakable. But Motin wasn't looking at the radar. At 0932, 15 minutes before impact, the CPA alarm activated. Electronic shriek designed to alert watchkeepers to collision danger. Motin silenced it with one button press, assumed it was a false alarm. Happened all the time in crowded waters. Went back to his phone. At 0940, Captain Leaf tried VHF radio. Channel 16, emergency frequency. Motor vessel approaching from north. This is anchored tanker Stena Immaculate. We are anchored and unable to maneuver. Please alter your course to starboard to pass port to port. The transmission was clear, professional, urgent. On Solong's bridge, the VHF speaker crackled with Leaf's voice. Motin heard it, glanced at the radio, assumed it was directed at some other ship. Didn't respond, didn't look at his radar. At 0945, Leaf sounded general alarm on Immaculate. All hands braced for possible collision. Griffin on deck inspecting tanks heard the alarm. Confusion. Then training kicked in. He looked north. Fog. Thick patches. Visibility maybe half a mile. Saw nothing. Then the fog parted for just a second. Something big. Something blue. Coming straight at him. Collision port side, Griffin screamed into his radio. Container ship inbound. At 0946 and 50 seconds, Vladimir Motin finally looked at his radar. His eyes went wide. Target 500 feet. Closing fast. He grabbed the engine room phone. Full astern now. But physics doesn't care about panic. A 5,000-ton ship traveling 16 knots needs nearly a mile to stop. Motin had 500 feet, 13 seconds. Jerry Griffin stood on tank 7 starboard, holding his oxygen meter when the world started ending. Through fog, blue bow, container ship, maybe 200 feet away. His brain calculated angles. That's port side. I'm starboard. I'm safe. Then reality. Port side is tank 7, full of jet fuel. If he hits, he couldn't finish the thought. Benjamin Brown, 20-year-old apprentice, was in the equipment locker. Heard groaning metal, not alarms. The hull itself protesting. Ran to porthole. Saw white outline of ship's house through fog. Then fireball. The sound wasn't a crash, it was a crunch. Metal tearing, Hull plates buckling, Tank 7 port ripping open like tissue paper. Griffin felt the deck jump, not shake. Jump, threw him flat. He looked up. The sky was orange. In cargo control room, Thor Pearson watched every alarm activate simultaneously. Tank 7 port zero pressure. Complete loss of containment. Fire detection active. Hull integrity compromised. His hands moved automatically. Emergency protocols. Isolate damaged tank. Maintain pressure elsewhere. Keep the shield up. But his brain was screaming, "This is how I die." When Solong's bow punctured Tank 7, it created a 50-foot wound. Jet fuel met sparks, met oxygen. The explosion was visible from shore 12 miles away. Fireball 80 feet high. But that was just round one. Solong carried containers. Cargo manifest various products, including dangerous goods. Those dangerous goods, Scotch whiskey, 12-year-old single malt, hundreds of bottles per container. When the heat hit, glass shattered, alcohol vaporized, mixed with jet fuel vapor. If jet fuel burns hot, whiskey burns hotter. The second fireball was twice the size. Orange turning white, turning blue. The color of chemical fire. Both ships engulfed. Stena Immaculate never disengaged its anchor. The ship swung on the hook. Pendulum motion. And as it swung, it dumped fuel. Fuel floating on water. Fuel on fire. The ocean itself was burning. Griffin looked down from the deck, saw flames on water spreading like cancer. He realized, even if we get off the ship, the water will kill us. Mark Perrier was in the forecastle at impact point, 5,000 tons traveling 16 knots. The kinetic energy was unsurvivable. He died instantly. Body lost in explosion and fire. His wife wouldn't know for 7 more hours. His son would be born in 2 months, perfect, healthy, fatherless. Captain Leaf's voice over a fire team's Alpha and Bravo muster at fire stations. Engineering start fire pumps. Deck teams boundary cooling on tanks, 5, 6, 8, and 9. No panic, just orders. Griffin ran to fire station 2. Grabbed gear. 3 other seamen there, Jamie, Carlos, Miguel. Jamie looked at him. "Third mate, what do we do?" Griffin felt his throat tighten. They were asking him. The rookie. He thought about his father. Hesitation that killed. "We foam that fire before it reaches tank 6. Move." Thor Pearson ran from cargo control to rescue 2 officers trapped forward. Through smoke, through fire, through hell. 87 seconds in conditions that should have killed him. He brought both men back alive. Griffin's team fought the port side fire. Foam on tank 6, boundary cooling working. They were winning. Then at 0951, Solong made it worse. Captain Moten ordered full astern, back us out. Pulling out opened the wound completely. Fuel gushed. Fire exploded. Griffin watched his progress disappear in seconds. Like throwing an ocean of gasoline on fire. At 0957, Captain Leaf called, officer meeting on bridge. "Skiers, we should abandon. Can't fight what we can't see." Griffin, crew still willing. "If we hold 10 more minutes." Pearson on radio from a cargo control, "Ship's savable, but only if pumps keep running, and pumps need crew." Leaf looked at each of them, thought about his 42 years, his family, his men. "All hands continue firefighting operations. We rotate every 5 minutes. And someone tells Solong they can quit if they want. We're Americans. We don't quit." At 1003, Solong's crew abandoned ship. Pearson watched them through cargo control porthole. Lifeboats lowering away. Weighing. Griffin appeared in doorway. "Chief, they're leaving." "I see. We're not doing that." Pearson looked at this 28-year-old rookie who'd run into fire because his captain said so. "No, we're not, because that's what we do. We're American merchant marines. We don't abandon unless there's no choice." At 10:06, second mate skiers shouted, "Fire's out on port side." They'd done it. 3 minutes of thinking they'd won. Then crackling sound. Whiskey containers on Solong's deck. Still smoldering. 20 more containers, all pressurizing. Griffin keyed radio, bridge whiskey containers, critical 10 seconds to 10 containers exploding simultaneously. Fireball 3 times larger than before. Every stabilized tank started heating again. Pearson in cargo control watched gauges go red. Captain, we're losing tanks, 5, 6, and 8. 15 minutes to cascade failure. Captain Leaf, can we stop it? No, sir. Physics doesn't care anymore. Silence. Then all hands. Abandon ship. This is not a drill. Engineers secure propulsion, but leave fire pumps running. Leave generators running. Leave inert gas running. Pause. Gentlemen, you fought like hell. Now save yourselves. 23 men ran to stern, to the free-fall lifeboat. Bosun Sterry reached it first, looked over the side. Keyed radio, Captain. The water's on fire. They were going to drop 40 feet into burning ocean. At 10:10 a.m., Bosun Sterry stood at the free-fall lifeboat, looking down at an ocean that was literally burning. Flames 3 feet high. Smoke so thick you couldn't see where water ended and fire began. Behind him, 22 men waiting to board, trusting him. Captain, I don't see a clear patch anywhere. Captain Leaf's voice, how long until fire reaches us? Sterry looked at flames advancing across deck. 3 minutes, maybe 4. Then Thor Pearson's voice, raspy from smoke. Check the wind. Check it again. Sterry looked at the indicator. Southeast, 5 knots. He looked down. The flames were drifting, and there, 50 feet from Hull, a patch of dark water. Clear, small, maybe 30 feet across, moving with the wind. Captain, I have a window, 30 seconds before fire drifts back. Then we launch in 25. Loading the lifeboat was organized chaos. Free-fall lifeboats hold 24 people. Stena Immaculate had 23 crew. Perfect fit for the worst situation imaginable. The capsule angled down 40 degrees. Nose pointing at ocean. You climb in through top hatch. Strap into racing seats. 5-point harness. Because when you launch, you're not dropping. You're falling, like a missile, hitting water at 30 miles per hour. Griffin took seat 14. Middle row, strapped in tight. Benjamin Brown next to him shaking. I can't do this. You don't have a choice. I'm gonna drown. Griffin grabbed his arm. Listen, when we hit hold your breath, count to 3. Lifeboat surfaces. We'll be okay. How do you know? He didn't, but said, because we're trained for this. Last 3 aboard skiers Pearson, Captain Leaf. Protocol, Captain last off ship. Leaf climbed in. Seat 1. Front row, best view of death approaching. Pearson behind him, seat 2. Still coughing blood. Skiers sealed the hatch. Locked it. Total time from abandon order to hatch sealed 4 minutes 18 seconds. Faster than any drill. Leaf keyed internal comm, sound off by seat number. 1, 2, Warsaw. 3 and through to 23, all accounted for, all alive. For now, Leaf reached for the red release handle. Paused. Gentlemen, see you on the water. He pulled. Clank, release mechanism engaged, then nothing. Half a second of suspension. Then gravity. Free fall. Griffin felt weightless and heavy simultaneously. Stomach and throat. Harness cutting into shoulders. Through the window, ocean rushing up. Flames, smoke. Were they aimed right? Time dilated. 40 feet, 1.6 seconds. Felt like 10. Someone screamed, impact. The lifeboat hit water like hitting concrete. Full stop. 0 to 30 to 0 in half a second. The sound was physical. Boom! Griffin felt it in his bones. Harness saved his life. Without it, the impact would have broken his neck. With it, it just hurt like hell. His vision went white, then cleared. Everything was green. They were underwater, completely submerged. Griffin held his breath, started counting. 1, descending still, going deeper. 2, descent slowing, buoyancy taking over. 3, at 3 seconds, exactly like he'd told Brown, the lifeboat breached. Shot up like a submarine. Broke surface. Boom, water streaming off hull. Rocking violently. Griffin gasped, sucked air, tasted smoke. Around him, gasps, coughs, nervous laughter. Captain Leaf. Sound off 1. 2 through to 23. Everyone alive. Everyone breathing. They'd made it. Through the window, Stena Immaculate, 500 feet away. Still burning. Flames 200 feet high. But still floating. Still fighting without them. Bosun Sterry made his way to helm station. Small diesel engine, Their escape, press starter, cough, turn, die. Again, cough, turn, die. Third time caught, settled into rough idle. Most beautiful sound Griffin had ever heard. Stereo gauge transmission. 5 knots, not fast, fast enough. He steered away from Immaculate, away from fire, away from hell. Destination open ocean, 12 miles from shore. 5-foot seas that felt like mountains. Seasickness hit within minutes. Benjamin Brown vomited first, then Carlos, then Miguel, then 4 more. Brahma plus smoke plus motion. Bodies reaching their limit. Griffin fought it. Focused on horizon, old sailor's trick. Captain Leaf on VHF. Humber Coast Guard. This is lifeboat from motor tanker Stena Immaculate. 23 souls aboard. All accounted for. Position 5 miles northeast of Humber Light at float. Requesting immediate assistance. Response within seconds. British accent. Unprofessional. Lifeboat Stena Immaculate. This is Humber Coast Guard. SAR assets deploying. ETA 15 minutes. 15 minutes bobbing in a lifeboat that smelled like diesel and vomit and fear. But 15 minutes meant rescue, meant survival, meant going home. Thor Pearson coughed blood into a towel. Had been since they hit water. Smoke damage. Probably carbon monoxide poisoning. Chemical burns in throat. Second mate skiers tried to give him oxygen. Pearson waved him off. Save it for people who need it. Chief, you're coughing blood. I'm breathing. That's good enough. Griffin looked at him. At this man who'd become his model for what an officer should be in 37 minutes. If he survived when he survived, he'd be that kind of officer. The kind who runs into fire. The kind who stays at his post. The kind who earns the title. The kind his father never got to be. At 10:48, 38 minutes after abandoning first rescue vessel arrived. Workboat Humber Sentinel, 60-foot utility vessel. Local operator monitoring VHF, who diverted immediately. Professional mariners helping professional mariners. Transfer in 5-foot seas required timing. Wait for both vessels at same height. Then jump. One by one crew transferred. Griffin was 14. When his turn came, he watched in the gap. 6 feet, 4, 2, now jumped. Landed on Humber Sentinel's deck. Legs gave out. Deckhand caught him. Easy, mate, you're safe. Griffin pointed at horizon, at Immaculate still burning. My ship is my ship. Deckhand looked, studied it. Still floating, mate, still fighting. Tough lady you got there. By 11:15, all 23 crew aboard rescue vessels. Humber Sentinel took 18. RNLI lifeboat from Spurn Point took 5. Transport to Grimsby, ETA 12:30. Paramedics triaged on deck. Smoke inhalation minor 8 crew. Smoke inhalation moderate Thor Pearson. Needed oxygen, refused. Burns superficial. 3 crew. Shock and trauma. All 23. Serious injuries. 0. Deaths from American crew 0. But across the water, one man's absence had been noted. At 11:47, Solong's crew completed muster after rescue. 22 men. Manifest listed 23. Missing able-bodied seaman Mark Perrier. Filipino, age 32. Wife 7 months pregnant. Last seen forward deck. 0930. Preparing anchor gear. Impact location, forward deck. The math was simple and terrible. UK Coast Guard initiated search. Helicopters, boats, divers, found nothing. Because there was nothing to find. Mark Perrier died at 09:47:22. Body lost in explosion, vaporized or consumed or dragged down. Gone. At 1800 Manila time, 1100 North Sea time, Anna Perrier received the call. Company representative, professional, distant, following a script. Mrs. Perrier, I regret to inform you that your husband Mark was involved in a maritime accident. He is listed as missing and presumed deceased. We extend our deepest condolences. Anna screamed. Not words, just sound. The sound a human makes when their world ends. Her mother grabbed the phone, started asking questions in Tagalog. Anna collapsed. Her mother caught her, held her. Anna pressed hands to pregnant belly, tried to explain to her unborn son that daddy wasn't coming home. The baby kicked, strong, active, healthy. Mark would never feel those kicks, would never hold his son, would never teach him to swim or be a good man, because Vladimir Motin had been looking at his phone instead of his radar. Anna Perrier's son would be born in May, 8 pounds 3 ounces. Perfect. She named him Mark Jr. Every year on March 10th, she would tell him about his father, about the man who sailed oceans to provide, about the man whose captain failed him. March 10th, 12:30 p.m. Crew arrived Grimsby Port, ambulances waiting, medical teams, Crowley maritime representatives, union officials, press cordoned behind barriers. Griffin stepped off Humber Sentinel onto solid ground. His legs almost gave out again. Muscle memory, still expecting deck motion. Jamie grabbed his arm. Steady, third mate. Griffin looked at him. At Carlos and Miguel, his fire team. Men he'd known 3 days who felt like brothers. "We made it," Jamie said. "All of us, not all." Mark Perriot didn't make it, but Griffin just nodded. Medical assessment at Grimsby Hospital showed Thor Pearson admitted for smoke inhalation. Carbon monoxide levels elevated, lung damage moderate. Doctor ordered minimum 1-week bed rest. Pearson lasted 6 hours. Discharged himself March 11th at 0600 against medical advice. Benjamin Brown received treatment for shock and minor smoke inhalation. Cleared after 4 hours observation. His mother flew from America that evening. When she saw him, she cried for 10 minutes straight. Brown told her, "Mom, I'm okay. I found what I want to do with my life." Jerry Griffin was treated for minor smoke inhalation and bruised ribs from freefall impact, released after examination. His mother called from California. "Jerry, come home. Quit that job." "Mom, I can't. This is what Dad did. What I do, I'm not quitting." Crew was housed at Grimsby Marriott that night. Crowley Maritime covered everything. Separate rooms, counselors available. Privacy requested from press. Griffin couldn't sleep. Lay in bed replaying the 37 minutes. Every decision, every action. Looking for mistakes. Found none. They'd done everything right and still almost died because Vladimir Motin had done everything wrong. At 0200, Griffin gave up on sleep, went to hotel bar, found Pearson there, also awake. "Chief?" "Griffin, sit." They drank in silence for 5 minutes. Finally, Griffin asked, "Why'd you go back for those guys, the ones trapped forward?" Pearson looked at his whiskey. "Because that's the job." "You could have died." "Yeah, but I didn't, and they didn't, so the job got done." "I want to be like you." Pearson looked at him, at this rookie who'd led a fire team through hell. "Kid, you already are." March 11th, 0600. Stena, Immaculate still floated. Fires extinguished overnight by firefighting vessels. Listing 3 degrees to port. Tank 7 port destroyed. But the remaining 15 tanks intact. Inert gas still flowing. Fire pumps still running. Because Thor Pearson had left critical systems online when they abandoned. That decision would prove crucial. March 11th, 1400. Pearson walked into Crowley Maritime's Temporary Operations Center. Company rep looked up. "Chief mate, you should be in hospital." "I need to go back to the ship." "Absolutely not." Coast Guard declared it hazmat zone. No personnel within 1 nautical mile. That ship has 200,000 barrels of jet fuel, 15 intact tanks. If they overheat without boundary cooling, you'll have Deepwater Horizon times 10. Smith Marine has salvage. Oh, who don't know the ship like I do? Who don't know I overrode safety protocols to keep systems running? "I'm going back." Rep shook his head. "I can't authorize that." Pearson leaned forward. Voice dropped. "Dangerous." "Then don't authorize it." "But I'm going, with or without permission. Call the police. Have me arrested. But that ship is savable because I left her alive. I'm not letting some salvage crew accidentally shut those systems down." He straightened. "So authorize me or explain to executives why you stopped me." Rep stared at him. At this smoke-damaged chief mate ready to do it again. "You're insane." "No, I'm professional." 1,500 hours. Pearson boarded workboat with Smith Marine team. Approaching Immaculate was surreal. Hull blackened. Tank 7 port a gaping wound, but structurally sound. Sheet held. Pearson climbed pilot ladder. First human aboard since abandoned. His boots hit deck. Something twisted in his chest. Pride, relief, vindication. His inspection confirmed hopes. All cargo lines operational. Hydraulic systems operational. Inert gas compressors still running. 40 hours after abandon. Fire pumps still running. Remaining 15 tanks intact with normal pressures. He radioed Salvage Master. She's completely salvageable. 14% cargo lost. 86% recoverable. Salvage Master's disbelief. This ship can be repaired. This ship never stopped being operational. We abandoned because fire was uncontrollable. Fire's out. Ship's still here. Still the toughest lady in the North Sea. He walked to Tank 7, looked at the wound, but also looked at intact tanks surrounding it. All holding, all safe. Because the crew had fought, bought time, refused to quit. Pearson placed his hand on bulkhead. Felt warm metal. Good girl, he whispered. March 12, 2025. Marine Accident Investigation Branch arrived Grimsby, MAIB, British government agency investigating maritime accidents. Professional, thorough, unforgiving. They interviewed all 23 Immaculate crew, separately. Recorded statements, cross-referenced timelines. Griffin's interview lasted 3 hours. Investigator, when did you first see Solong? 0947, maybe 13 seconds before impact. Fog lifted just enough. What did you do? Shouted collision warning on radio, looked for escape. There wasn't one. I was standing on tanks full of jet fuel. I just stood there. Why didn't you run? Run where I was on a tanker about to be hit. There was nowhere to run. Pearson's interview focused on technical decisions. Investigator, why leave critical systems running during abandoned ship? Because abandoning doesn't mean giving up. We left that ship alive. I wanted it to stay that way. You risked crew evacuation time. I risked 45 seconds to prevent 200,000 barrels igniting. Yes, I do it again. March 15th, MAIB recovered Solong's voyage data recorder. The ship's black box records everything. Radar displays, course changes, radio communications, bridge audio. The VDR told a devastating story. March 10, 2025. Solong's VDR timeline showed at 0130 autopilot set heading 150 degrees standard procedure. Nothing unusual. At 0345, brief manual correction for traffic, then returned to autopilot. At 0700, Motin took watch as lone watchkeeper. From 0700 to 0946, there were 0 course changes. 2 hours, 46 minutes of continuous autopilot. At 0917, radar clearly showed Immaculate. Range 15 miles. CPA calculating 0. Collision course. At 0932, the CPA alarm activated. 15 minutes to collision. Audio captured alarm tone. Continuous. Loud. Impossible to miss. No response from Motin. At 0940, VHF received Leaf's transmission. Motor vessel approaching from north. This is anchored at tanker Stena Immaculate. Please alter course. Audio recording captured it. Clearly audible. No response from Motin. At 0945:30, sound of phone notification. Smartphone alert. At 0945:35, Motin's voice in Russian. Da-da Rotterdam berth understood. He was on his phone, while collision alarms screamed, while tanker transmitted warnings, while his ship closed at 16 knots. At 0946:40, sudden movement. Chair scraping. Motin CHT. Russian for what? He'd finally looked at radar. At 0946:47, phone hitting deck. At 0946:50, full astern, full astern. 13 seconds before impact. 13 seconds to stop 5,000 tons. Physics doesn't work that way. At 0947:22, impact. Mark Perrier killed. 23 others nearly following. All because a captain looked at his phone instead of his radar for 30 minutes. April 18th, 2025. UK Crown Prosecution Service announced charges. Vladimir Motin, age 59. Ship's captain, Russian national. Charged manslaughter by gross negligence. Victim Mark Perrier, age 32. Able-bodied seaman, Filipino. Father of one, soon two. Potential sentence, life imprisonment, May 12, 2025. Trial began at London's Old Bailey. Prosecution, Tom Little, Queen's Counsel. Defense, James Leonard. Prosecution played VDR audio. Let jury hear Motin on phone. Hear collision alarm. Hear Leaf's warning. Hear 30 minutes of nothing, then 13 seconds of panic. Showed radar plots. Demonstrated 30-minute collision course. Zero action. Brought expert witnesses, ship captains, maritime specialists. All said same thing. Any competent officer would have altered by 0930 latest. Then Anna Perrier appeared via video link from Philippines. 27 years old, eyes red, holding 2-month-old baby. Tom Little gentle. Mrs. Perrier, state your relationship to Mark Perrier. He was my husband. Present tense first, then correction. Was my husband. The child you're holding, this is Mark Jr., born May 15th, 2025. Our son, his son. She looked at camera, at Motin. The son he'll never meet because of that man. She broke down, sobbing. Video shook. Her mother took the baby. 3 jurors cried. Motin showed no emotion. Defense tried claiming mechanical failure and autopilot malfunction. MAIB destroyed it in 30 seconds. No defects found. Autopilot functioned perfectly. Only failure was human. Defense claimed fog obscured visibility. Prosecution countered with radar. Radar doesn't need visibility. Immaculate was clearly visible for 30 minutes. Defense's final argument, negligence yes, but not gross. Just a mistake. Tom Little stood for rebuttal. Members of jury, defense wants you to believe this was simple mistake. Lapse in judgment. Anyone could make. Pause. 30 minutes is not a lapse. 30 minutes is choice. Vladimir Motin chose to ignore radar, chose to ignore alarms, chose to ignore warnings, chose to prioritize phone over duty. Mark Perrier paid with his life. Another pause. Mark's widow holds a son who will never know his father. That child will ask, why didn't daddy come home? The answer is simple, because a captain whose job was to watch chose not to watch. He looked at jury. That's not negligence. That's gross negligence. That's criminal. That demands justice. Jury deliberated 4 hours, May 29th, 2025. Verdict, guilty of manslaughter by gross negligence. Motin showed no emotion. Anna Perrier via video cried. Relief and grief mixed. A guilty verdict wouldn't bring Mark back. Wouldn't let Mark Jr. know his father, but it was something. June 5th, 2025. Sentencing. Judge Vladimir Motin, your gross negligence killed Mark Perrier and risked 23 other lives. I sentence you to 4 years imprisonment. Outside courthouse Immaculate crew gathered. Captain Leaf read statement. Today, justice was served, but no sentence brings Mark home. We sailed with professionals. Mark was one. Vladimir Motin was not. May this warn the sea doesn't forgive negligence. Neither should we. June 2025. American Maritime Officers and Seafarers International Union Ceremony in New York. Willie Berry, AMO President. These men showed what American seamanship means. Training, courage, brotherhood. They fought, they saved their ship as long as possible. When they left, they did it professionally, safely with 0 casualties. Commendations presented to all 23 crew members. Captain Thomas Leaf received recognition for leadership under crisis in bringing all men home alive. Chief Mate Thor Pearson was honored for heroism, for running into fire, for keeping systems online, for returning when no one else would, and was promoted to captain. Third Mate Jerry Griffin was recognized for rising to the occasion for leading fire teams as a rookie, for proving professionalism isn't about years, but about doing the term, and was confirmed as permanent third mate. Crowley Maritime added their recognition with heroism at sea medals for all 23 crew members, safety bonuses of $10,000 per crew member, and a college fund of $100,000 for Mark Jr., held in trust until he turns 18. Anna Perrier sent video message, holding Mark Jr., now 4 months old. Thank you for honoring my husband. Thank you for remembering he was professional. Mark loved his work, loved the sea, loved sailing with good men. You were good men. Even though he's gone, I'm grateful his last day was with professionals. She kissed Mark Jr.'s forehead. His son will know. Mark Jr. will grow up knowing his father was a sailor, a professional, a man who didn't quit. Neither did his brothers. Screen went dark. Griffin cried. This woman he'd never met. This child who'd never know his father. This family destroyed because someone couldn't put down his phone. But also this recognition, this acknowledgement, this proof that what they'd done mattered. They'd fought hell. They'd survived. They'd earned the title professional. Jerry Griffin made second mate 2 years later, chief mate 5 years after that, still selling Crowley. Every March 10th, he lights a candle for Mark Perrier. Every year he tells himself, don't make mistakes that kill. Don't be the officer looking at phone. Don't prioritize convenience over safety. Be Thor Pearson. Be the officer who runs into fire. Be the professional who earns the title. Thor Pearson got first command October 2025. New Crowley tanker, state-of-the-art. Wife Sarah terrified, another tanker. After what happened, Pearson kissed her forehead. That's exactly why. Tankers need captains who know what happens when things go wrong. Need captains who won't quit. His kids asked, Daddy, were you scared? Truth terrified? Every second. But fear doesn't excuse inaction. Your job is your job. Do it right or don't do it. Captain Thomas Leaf retired December 2025. 42 years at sea. At retirement, someone asked, regrets about March 10th, Leaf thought. Really thought. I regret Mark Perrier died. I regret I couldn't save the whole ship. I regret we had to abandon. Pause. But I don't regret fighting. I don't regret giving my crew the chance to prove themselves. 23 men came home because we refused to quit. He smiled. March 10th was the worst day and proudest day of my career. We made history, not the kind in textbooks, the kind you live, the kind that proves American sailors still have what our grandfathers had in World War II guts: training, brotherhood, and refusal to accept defeat until defeat is the only option. Stena Immaculate was towed to Damen Shipyard in the Netherlands in April 2025. Repairs took 9 months and cost $45 million. Tank 7 port was completely rebuilt. Hull reinforced. Systems upgraded. The ship returned to service in January 2026. Reflagged under Maltese registry with new operators. Before American crew left her, they installed a plaque. Brass, mounted in crew mess with the inscription, in memory of March 10, 2025. 23 American sailors who fought fire and refused to quit. And in memory of a B-Mark Perrier MV Solong, who was not so fortunate. May all who sail remember professionals don't abandon. They fight until fighting is futile. Fair winds and following seas. International Maritime Organization reviewed the case in September 2025 and proposed new regulations including minimum 2 watchkeepers in restricted visibility for vessels over 500 gross tons, mandatory autopilot checks every 30 minutes, ban on personal electronics during active watch, and stricter enforcement of bridge standards. Jerry Griffin testified at the IMO hearing, standing before representatives from 80 countries. Mark Perrier died because his captain was distracted. 23 of us almost died for the same reason. This wasn't weather, wasn't mechanical, wasn't God. This was one man choosing convenience over duty. He paused. Every regulation someone says it's excessive, increases costs, professionals don't need rules. But we do, not because we're incompetent, because we're human. Humans need systems, checks, accountability. Mark needed his captain watching. Captain wasn't. Now Mark's son grows up without father. Please, don't let that happen again. The regulations passed, March 10th, 2026. Griffin sat alone with cold coffee, pulled out his journal, started writing. A year ago, I almost died. We all almost died. But we didn't. I think about Mark Perrier, the sailor I never met. He was doing his job, same as me. Difference, his captain didn't care. Mine did. People call us heroes. I don't feel like hero. I feel lucky. Lucky to have Thor Pearson teaching me. Lucky to have Captain Leaf leading. Lucky to have brothers who wouldn't quit. They ask, were you scared? Hell yes, still am. Every time I go to sea, I wonder if this is when my luck runs out. But I know if it happens again, I won't be alone. None of us are alone. That's what March 10th taught me. We're sailors. We go into danger together. We fight together. We survive together. Or we don't survive at all. But we never quit on each other. That's the lesson. That's why we're still here. That's why Mark's son will know his father sailed with men who'd have died to save him. We just never got the chance. Fair winds, Mark. We'll take it from here. The North Sea doesn't forgive mistakes. Never has. Thousands of ships claimed over 1,000 years. But March 10th, 2025 was different. It was the day 23 American sailors proved training defeats chaos. That brotherhood defeats fire. That professionalism defeats negligence. It was the day Thor Pearson, a Minnesota farm boy, became captain by running into hell. It was the day Jerry Griffin, a rookie afraid of failure, became an officer by leading when it mattered. It was the day Benjamin Brown, a 20-year-old kid, found his calling, surviving the unsurvivable. And it was the day Mark Perrier, a Filipino sailor saving for his son, died because his captain didn't care enough to watch. The greatest generation didn't end in 1945. They're still out there, on tankers, in engine rooms, on bridges, doing work that keeps America moving. And when it goes wrong, when fire erupts and ships collide and death comes at 16 knots through fog, they don't panic. They don't freeze. They don't quit. They go to work. American, professional, unbreakable, fair winds and following seas. If you served in merchant marine or know someone who did, honor them in comments. These are people who kept supply lines open in World War II, delivered fuel to Normandy, sailed through U-boat wolf packs so America could win. They're still out there, still sailing, still professional. Stories like March 10th prove the values our grandfathers fought for, duty and courage, and brotherhood, didn't die with their generation. Those values live in union halls, in training centers, in men like Thor Pearson and Jerry Griffin and Mark Perrier. Remember them, honor them. If you see a merchant mariner, shake their hand. They carry a legacy 250 years old. A legacy built on one principle: we don't quit, ever.